The morning sun hadn't yet cleared the Pacific horizon when Lieutenant Alexis Raven Reeves completed her 200th push-up. 5:30 a.m. at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado. The air tasted of salt and diesel fuel. Her arms burned. Her breath came in controlled bursts. She didn't stop. Around her 30 Navy SEALs mirrored her movements. Up, down, up, down. The rhythm of warriors? The cadence of men who'd earned their trident through hell itself. And one woman who'd done the same. Alexis Reeves stood 5'3" in boots, 125 pounds soaking wet. The smallest operator on SEAL Team 5 by 70 pounds. At 26 years old, she'd been a SEAL for exactly 2 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Some mornings she still couldn't believe they'd let her in. Most mornings she made damn sure nobody regretted it. Her father's dog tags hung against her chest. Master Chief Thomas Reeves, killed in action, Afghanistan, March 15, 2011. 13 years, 2 months, and 27 days ago. Not that she was counting. The worn K-bar knife on her hip had been his too. The blade dulled from 1,000 training sessions. The leather grip shaped to his hand first, then slowly conforming to hers. Time. Master Chief Frank Sullivan's voice cut through the dawn. Recovery stretch. Move. Alexis rose smoothly. Not a tremor in her arms, despite 200 push-ups. She'd learned long ago that showing weakness invited questions. Questions invited doubt. And doubt got people killed. The team stretched in silence. Professional, focused. This was her family now. These men who'd seen her push through Hell Week, who'd watched her earn every single inch of respect she had. Some had doubted. Most had come around. A few never would. That was fine. She wasn't here to make friends. She was here to be the best. Master Chief Sullivan stood apart from the formation. 62 years old, 6 feet even. Still carried himself like the warrior he'd been for 4 decades. Gray hair cropped military short, face weathered by sun and salt water, and 31 years of combat operations. He'd served with her father. Somalia, Panama, Afghanistan, a brotherhood forged in blood and fire. Sullivan caught her eye, gave the slightest nod, the kind of acknowledgement that meant more than 1,000 words. Your father would be proud. The nod said it every morning. Every single morning for 2 years. Then the buses arrived. 3 olive-drab transport vehicles rumbled through the main gate, United States Marine Corps insignia on their doors. The low growl of diesel engines, the hiss of air brakes. Alexis felt the shift in atmosphere immediately. SEALs and Marines had a complicated relationship. Mutual respect tinged with rivalry. Each branch certain they were tougher, better, more elite. The kind of competition that made both sides sharper. Usually, the buses disgorged their cargo, 6 Marines, all male, all carrying themselves with that particular force recon swagger. The kind of confidence that came from jumping out of perfectly good aircraft and considering it a normal Tuesday. But it was the 7th man who commanded attention. Gunnery Sergeant Wade Garrett stepped off the lead bus like a monument come to life. 58 years old, 6'1", 210 pounds of muscle and scar tissue, and absolute conviction. His uniform displayed ribbons from 3 wars: Desert Storm, Bosnia, Iraq. 54 years of service. The kind of Marine who'd enlisted when Reagan was president and never looked back. Behind Garrett came the younger man, Staff Sergeant Cole Brennan, 34, 6'2", 195 pounds, shoulders like a linebacker, jaw cut from granite, Staff Sergeant stripes on his sleeve. His name tape read Brennan. His eyes swept the assembled SEALs like a general surveying troops. Those eyes found Alexis, held there for exactly 2 seconds. Something flickered across his face. Disbelief, contempt, amusement. All 3. Alexis recognized the look. She'd seen variations of it her entire career. At basic, at buds, during every training evolution and deployment workup. The doubt never got old because it never went away. It just got louder. Master Chief Sullivan approached, hand extended. Master Chief Frank Sullivan. Welcome to Coronado. Brennan shook, firm grip, assessing eyes that never quite left Alexis. Staff Sergeant Cole Brennan, Force Recon. Behind him, Garrett stood with arms folded, stone-faced, evaluating. My team's here for the joint training exercise, Brennan said. His voice carried. Parade ground volume. 2 weeks of cross-branch integration. Sharing tactics, building cohesion. Outstanding, Sullivan said. My team's ready to work with you. We'll be running combined ops, learning from each other. Brennan's eyes found Alexis again. Held there. All of your team, Master Chief, the question dripped skepticism. Hung in the air like a challenge, like a thrown gauntlet. Alexis knew what was coming. She'd heard variations of it since the day she arrived at Coronado. The doubt packaged as concern. The disrespect wrapped in questions about standards. It never changed, only the faces delivering it. Every operator on that grinder felt the shift. 30 SEALs, 6 Marines, 1 gunnery sergeant who looked like he could break concrete with his stare, and 1 female SEAL who suddenly had everyone's attention. Sullivan's expression went carefully neutral, the kind of blank that came from 4 decades of military service and learning when to pick your battles. Yes, Staff Sergeant, all of my team. Brennan turned to his Marines, raised his voice another notch. Looks like Naval Special Warfare has updated their standards, boys. A pause. Theatrical. Calculated. Wonder if they updated their coffee-making requirements, too. Laughter from the Marines. Uncertain silence from the SEALs. Alexis felt 30 pairs of eyes slide toward her. She didn't move. Didn't react. Just maintained her position of attention. Gaze fixed on the middle distance. A technique her father had taught her at 12 years old. When they try to get under your skin, baby girl, you become stone. You become water. You become air. Anything but what they expect. Brennan walked closer, boots crunching on gravel. He stopped 3 feet from Alexis. Close enough to invade personal space. Far enough to maintain plausible deniability. What's your rate, sailor? Not lieutenant. Not ma'am. Just the deliberate disrespect of ignoring her rank entirely. Alexis met his eyes. Level. Calm. Lieutenant Alexis Reeves. SEAL Team 5. SEAL. He dragged the word out. Turned it into something obscene. And how long you been playing SEAL, Lieutenant? 2 years, Staff Sergeant. 2 whole years. Brennan whistled low, shook his head. Boys, we got ourselves a seasoned veteran here. 2 years. Behind him, Garrett still hadn't moved. Hadn't spoken. Just watched with those flat, evaluating eyes. The kind of eyes that had seen everything. That had formed opinions decades ago and never bothered updating them. Brennan turned back to Alexis. Smiled. The kind of smile that wasn't friendly at all. Tell me, Lieutenant, they make buds easier for you, lower that obstacle wall, maybe let you skip the cold water. Evolution, Alexis's jaw tightened. The only visible reaction she allowed herself. Same course, same standards, same hell week. Sure. Brennan's smile widened. I believe that. I really do. He raised his voice again, addressing the entire formation. Now I'm sure the Navy gave you the exact same standards as the men. Exact same. No political pressure. No diversity quotas. No senators making phone calls. He leaned in close. Close enough that only Alexis and the nearest SEALs could hear his next words. Try not to cry, Princess. It's only 2 weeks. The words hit like a physical blow. Every muscle in Alexis's body screamed to move, to respond, to wipe that smug expression off his face. But she was stone. She was water. She was air. I understand, Staff Sergeant. Flat, emotionless, giving him nothing. Then Garrett spoke for the first time. His voice was gravel and rust, the sound of a man who'd been shouting orders since before Alexis was born. In my corps, we earned it the hard way. No shortcuts, no special treatment, just blood and sweat and proving you belonged every single day. He paused. Let the words settle. Standards matter, Lieutenant. Real standards, not the kind that get adjusted when it's convenient. Alexis held his gaze. Yes, Gunnery Sergeant. Garrett studied her another moment, then turned away, dismissing her entirely. Brennan held Alexis's gaze another 3 seconds. Then he too turned, addressing Master Chief Sullivan. My Marines are ready to train, Master Chief. Assuming we're actually here to train and not to babysit, Sullivan's face had gone carefully blank. We're here to train, Staff Sergeant. Let's get your team squared away. The formation broke, Marines moving toward their assigned barracks, SEALs dispersing for pre-breakfast personal time. Alexis held her position until everyone else had moved. Then she walked, not toward the barracks, toward the beach. She needed to run. The next 12 days unfolded like a masterclass in psychological warfare. Brennan and his Marines integrated into every training evolution, every briefing, every meal, and at every opportunity the comments came. Subtle enough to maintain deniability, loud enough to make sure everyone heard. Day 2 arrived with California sun and a rifle range that smelled of gunpowder and possibility. Alexis was firing rifle qualifications, 40 rounds at 300 yards. Iron sights, wind gusting at 15 knots from the northwest. She called her shots, controlled her breathing, squeezed the trigger between heartbeats like her father had taught her before she could write in cursive. The M4A1 bucked against her shoulder, again, again. 40 rounds, 40 hits, dead center mass, perfect score. Brennan watched from the observation booth, his voice carried through the open window. Must be nice having adjustable targets. Bet they set hers 10 yards closer. Laughter from his Marines. Alexis ejected her magazine, cleared her weapon, said nothing. But Garrett had walked closer to the target, studying the grouping. Tight, professional, the kind of shooting that came from thousands of hours of practice. He said nothing, just nodded once. To himself, not to her. The SEAL range master, a crusty chief petty officer with 20 years downrange, called out the scores. Lieutenant Reeves, 40 for 40, perfect score. Then Garrett spoke. His voice carried across the range. Let's see her do it with an M14 EBR, real rifle. 7.62 millimeter NATO, not that 223 toy. The challenge hung in the air. A heavier rifle, more recoil, older platform, the kind of weapon that separated shooters from pretenders. Alexis looked at Sullivan. The Master Chief's expression said, "Your call." She walked to the weapons rack, selected an M14 enhanced battle rifle, 22 pounds fully loaded, the wood stock worn smooth from decades of use. She'd trained with the M14. Her father had loved the platform, called it a real rifle for real work. Same conditions, same distance, same wind, different weapon. 40 rounds, 38 hits, still excellent, still professional. 2 misses attributable to the heavier recoil, an unfamiliar platform. Garrett watched the target checker confirm the score. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in those flat eyes. Not quite respect, not quite acknowledgement, just a data point filed away for later consideration. Acceptable, he said, for a trainee. Then he turned and walked away. Day 5 brought ocean conditioning. The Pacific in December, 62 degrees Fahrenheit, 2-mile swim in full kit, 70-pound ruck. Weapons, the kind of cold that could kill you if you weren't prepared. If you hadn't trained your body to love the ice. Alexis had grown up swimming in these waters, had learned to embrace the Pacific's icy grip during Hell Week. The cold didn't bother her, it was familiar, almost comforting. The ocean was honest. It didn't care about your gender or your sex or your politics. It only cared if you were strong enough to survive it. She finished the swim 8 minutes ahead of the next fastest time, emerged from the surf breathing hard but controlled. No shivering, no hypothermia symptoms. She wrung water from her dark hair, squeezed it from her uniform, walked to the equipment staging area like she'd just finished a morning jog. Brennan was waiting on the beach. Lucky current today. Probably had it easier being so small, less body mass to drag through the water. Alexis toweled off her face, controlled her breathing. I understand, Staff Sergeant. Behind Brennan, one of his Marines spoke. Corporal Marcus Langford, the sniper, 25 years old, lean and quiet. He'd been watching Alexis all week with those careful shooter's eyes that missed nothing. That was a legit swim staff sergeant. 8 minutes ahead in those conditions. That's not luck. Brennan turned, stared at Langford. The younger Marine held his gaze for exactly 2 seconds, then looked away. But something had been said. A crack in the united front. Small but present. Day 8 brought the kill house. Close quarters battle drills with live ammunition. The most dangerous training the SEALs conducted, where one mistake, one lapse in discipline meant someone went home in a box. The kill house smelled of concrete dust and cordite, plywood walls painted to look like residential interiors. Targets appearing at random, Shoot, don't shoot scenarios that tested reflexes and judgment in equal measure. Alexis's team breached 6 rooms, engaged 42 hostile targets, 0 civilian casualties, 0 friendly fire incidents. Completion time, 93 seconds. Textbook perfect. The team moved like water through the structure, each operator knowing exactly where the others were at all times. The kind of coordination that came from hundreds of repetitions, from trust built through shared suffering. Alexis took point, first through every door, the most dangerous position, the one that caught the first rounds if something went wrong. She moved with controlled aggression, HK-416 up, infrared laser painting targets invisible to the naked eye, but clear as day through night vision. 2-round controlled pairs, Mozambique drill when needed. 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. The Marines watched the video footage afterward. Standard procedure, learning from other teams. Brennan reviewed the replay, shook his head. Anybody can shoot paper. Combat's different. When real bullets come back, we'll see who freezes. His corporal, a man named Trent Calloway with Taekwondo, black belt patches on his gym bag, nodded agreement. Women aren't wired for violence. It's biology. When it gets real, instinct takes over. Alexis was cleaning her weapon 15 feet away, field stripping the HK-416 with practiced efficiency. She heard every word, said nothing, just broke down the rifle, cleaned each part, reassembled it, functions check, ready for the next evolution. But Sullivan had heard too. The Master Chief stood in the observation room doorway, watching his team, watching the Marines, calculating, planning, the way he'd been calculating and planning for 2 weeks before Brennan ever arrived at Coronado. Because Master Chief Frank Sullivan had a secret, one he hadn't shared with anyone, not even Alexis. 2 weeks before the Marines arrived, Sullivan had been at a bar in San Diego, a quiet place where operators went to drink in peace. No civilians asking about missions. No thank you for your service from people who didn't understand what that service cost. An old friend had been there. A retired Marine Colonel Sullivan had worked with in Afghanistan. They'd shared a drink, swapped stories. Then the colonel had mentioned something. Almost in passing, got a staff sergeant shipping to Coronado for a joint exercise. Cole Brennan, good Marine, hard worker. But he's got a thing about female operators. Thinks the standards got lowered, makes sure everyone knows it. Sullivan had nursed his whiskey, said nothing, just listened. Lost his sister 8 years back. Car accident. She'd wanted to be a Marine. Brennan told her she was too weak, too small. Then she died before he could take it back. Now he's on this crusade. Like if he can prove women don't belong, he can retroactively be right about her. The colonel had shaken his head. Sad situation. Kid needs to work through it. Maybe Coronado will help. Sullivan had finished his drink, set the glass down carefully. Maybe it will. Because Frank Sullivan had made a promise 31 years ago. October 3rd, 1993, Mogadishu, Somalia, a city that would become synonymous with American military tragedy. Black Hawk Down, the longest sustained firefight American forces had seen. Sullivan and Thomas Reeves had been part of Task Force Ranger, supporting the 75th Ranger Regiment. What was supposed to be a 1-hour raid turned into 15 hours of hell, urban combat at its most brutal. Around every corner, another fighter with an AK-47. Above every street, another RPG. Sullivan and Reeves got separated from the main force, trapped in a 3-story building with 2 Army Rangers, surrounded, running low on ammunition. The kind of situation where you start making peace with not going home. Then 4 Somali militiamen came through the door, all armed, all committed, all ready to kill Americans. Reeves's M4 had jammed. Sullivan's was dry. The Rangers were reloading. 4 armed men. 4 Americans with weapons that wouldn't fire. The mathematics of death. Thomas Reeves had dropped his rifle, stepped forward, empty hands raised, and fought all 4 of them. 11 minutes, hand to hand. No weapons, just technique and will and absolute refusal to let his brothers die. Sullivan watched in frozen horror. Watched Reeves take hits that would have dropped most men. Watched him keep fighting, keep moving, using techniques Sullivan had never seen before. Years later, Sullivan would learn the system had a name. something Reeves had been developing for years, based on Soviet Spetsnaz techniques he'd learned interrogating a Russian prisoner. Based on physics and leverage and using an opponent's strength against them. Based on the understanding that size didn't matter if you knew how to break the right joints. When it was over, all 4 militiamen were down. 2 dead, 2 unconscious. Thomas Reeves collapsed against the wall. 3 broken ribs, dislocated shoulder, concussion, blood running from a dozen cuts. But Sullivan was alive. The 2 Rangers were alive. 4 Americans made it out because 1 man refused to quit. Reeves had looked at Sullivan through swollen eyes, grinned through split lips. "Frank, promise me something. Anything, brother. If I ever have a daughter, if I have a little girl, you train her. Everything I know, everything you know, everything we learn, you make her into a warrior." Reeves coughed, spat blood. "You make sure she never needs anyone to save her. You make sure she can save herself and everyone around her." Why a daughter, Sullivan had asked. Why not a son? Because a son they'll train. They'll respect. They'll give every opportunity. Reeves closed his eyes. A daughter they'll doubt. Every step, every achievement. They'll say the standards were lowered, that she didn't earn it, that she's a diversity hire. He opened his eyes again. Fierce, determined. So you train her twice as hard, make her twice as good. Give her every tool she needs to prove them wrong. Every single day. Sullivan had gripped his friend's hand. "I promise." 5 years later, Thomas Reeves had called Sullivan. Drunk, happy, celebrating. "Frank, I have a daughter, Alexis Marie Reeves, 8 pounds 6 ounces, born at 0300, just like an operator, already keeping military hours." Sullivan had bought a plane ticket that night, flown to Virginia, held baby Alexis in arms that had carried rifles and brothers and the weight of 3 decades of warfare. She'd looked up at him with those serious, dark eyes. Already alert, already watching. I remember Brother Sullivan had said, "I'll keep my promise." And he had, for 26 years, training Alexis from the moment she could walk, teaching her to swim, to shoot, to fight, watching her grow from a serious little girl into a serious young woman, into a SEAL Team 5 operator who could run with the best of them. But he'd always known this day would come, the day someone tried to break her. Not with training, not with standards, but with doubt, with disrespect, with the kind of psychological warfare that destroyed more operators than physical challenges ever did. So when that Marine colonel mentioned Staff Sergeant Cole Brennan, Sullivan had smiled, had made a phone call, had arranged for Brennan's joint training to happen at Coronado, had set the stage. Because Alexis was ready, more than ready. She just didn't know it yet. Day 11 arrived, hand-to-hand combat refresher training, the gymnasium packed with operators from both services, crash mats covering the floor. The smell of sweat and determination thick in the air. The SEAL instructor was a grizzled chief petty officer who'd taught combatives for 20 years. He called for volunteers to demonstrate techniques. Before anyone could respond, Brennan's voice boomed across the gym. "Let's see a real demonstration. Lieutenant Reeves care to show us some of those SEAL techniques." The gymnasium went quiet. Alexis turned. Brennan was smiling, that same not friendly smile from day one. The instructor frowned. "Staff Sergeant, I don't think no disrespect, Chief, but we're here for cross-branch learning, right?" Brennan gestured toward Alexis. "I'm genuinely curious what modern naval special warfare teaches." The tone was different this time. Not quite mocking, but loaded. A test hidden inside professional courtesy. Alexis stepped forward. "I'll demonstrate joint manipulation techniques, Chief. The principles my father developed." For the next 20 minutes, she broke down Phantom protocol fundamentals, using volunteer SEALs as partners. Wrist locks, elbow destruction, knee attacks, each technique flowing smoothly into the next. Each principle explained with engineering precision. Leverage, angles, mechanical advantage. The gym watched in silence. Brennan's expression shifted throughout, the smirk fading, replaced by calculation. By the end, he wasn't smiling anymore. He was studying, learning, reassessing everything he'd assumed for 12 days. When Alexis finished, the room stayed quiet for 3 seconds, then scattered applause, mostly from SEALs, but a few Marines joined in. Langford. Even Calloway nodded grudging respect on his face. Master Chief Sullivan stepped forward, his weathered face carved from stone. Every operator in the room knew who he was. When Sullivan spoke, people listened. Impressive demonstration, Lieutenant. Sullivan's voice carried to every corner. But demonstrations are controlled, safe. I think Staff Sergeant Brennan wants to see if those techniques work under pressure. He turned to Brennan. You have 6 Marines, Staff Sergeant. Lieutenant Reeves is 1 SEAL. Seems like uneven odds to me. Brennan's expression shifted. Uncertain now. Master Chief, I'm not sure what you... Here's what I think. Sullivan addressed the entire gym. We've got 2 weeks of joint training left. There seems to be some doubt about standards, about capability, about whether everyone here earned their place. So let's settle it. Sullivan's eyes locked on Brennan. Exhibition match. Lieutenant Reeves versus your entire squad. One-on-one matches. 7 consecutive fights. Full contact. No time limit per fight except exhaustion. Lucky shot. Anyone can get lucky once. The silence broke. Murmurs from the crowd. The instructor moved between Alexis and Calloway, ready to call things done, to defuse the situation before it escalated further. But Master Chief Sullivan stepped forward. Alexis hadn't seen him enter the gym, didn't know how long he'd been watching. Sullivan's weathered face was carved from stone, his eyes sharp and intelligent despite his 62 years, fixed on Brennan with an intensity that could melt steel. You're right, Staff Sergeant Sullivan said quietly. Once is luck. Anyone can get lucky once. Brennan's smile returned. Exactly what How about 7 times? The gym went silent again. Different silence this time. Anticipatory, dangerous. Every operator in that room knowing something significant had just happened, something that would be talked about for years. Sullivan walked to the center of the mat. Every person there knew who he was. Master Chief Frank Sullivan, legend, a man who had earned his trident in 1982, who'd fought in Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm, Somalia, Afghanistan, Iraq, who'd trained 3 generations of SEALs. When Sullivan spoke, people listened. You have 6 Marines, Staff Sergeant Brennan. Sullivan's voice carried to every corner of the gym. Lieutenant Reeves is 1 SEAL. Seems like uneven odds to me. Brennan's expression shifted. Uncertain now. Master Chief, I don't think... Here's what I think. Sullivan turned, addressing the entire gym. We've got 2 weeks of joint training left. We're supposed to be building unit cohesion. But it seems to me there's some doubt about standards, about capability, about whether everyone here earned their place. He turned back to Brennan. So let's settle it. Exhibition match. Lieutenant Reeves versus your entire squad. One-on-one matches. 7 consecutive fights. Full contact. No time limit per fight except exhaustion. The gym erupted. Voices overlapping. SEALs looked stunned. Marines looked eager. Alexis's heart hammered in her chest. 7 fights back to back. She'd never done that. Never even trained for that specifically. Brennan recovered quickly. Too quickly. Like he'd been waiting for something like this. What are the stakes? Master Chief Sullivan smiled, the kind of smile that made Alexis nervous. Lieutenant Reeves wins you issue a formal apology to every female service member on this base. Written, public, documented in your permanent file. Brennan's jaw tightened, and if she loses, she requests a transfer off SEAL Team 5 and out of Naval Special Warfare entirely. Alexis's blood went cold, her career, everything she'd worked for since she was 13 years old. On the line. She wanted to speak, to object, to say something. But Sullivan's voice cut through the chaos. Captain Morrison, Commander Richard Morrison, base commander, former SEAL himself, pushed through the crowd. His expression was unreadable. Master Chief Sullivan, that's a significant proposition. Yes, sir. Morrison looked at Alexis, really looked at her. Measuring, assessing. Lieutenant Reeves, do you accept these terms? Every eye in the gym turned to Alexis. Brennan smiling, Calloway still rubbing his throat, the SEALs uncertain, the Marines eager, and Master Chief Sullivan, her father's best friend, the man who'd helped raise her after her dad died, who'd trained her, pushed her, never doubted her. Sullivan's eyes said, I believe in you. I always have. Alexis straightened to attention. Yes, sir. I accept. Morrison nodded slowly. Very well. 1 week to prepare. Next Saturday, 2000 hours. This gymnasium. Mandatory attendance base-wide. He looked at Brennan. Staff Sergeant, you agree to these terms? Brennan glanced at his Marines. All six nodded, eager, confident. This would be over in 30 minutes, maybe less. A female SEAL against 6 trained Marine Force recon operators. The outcome was obvious. We agree, sir. Then it's settled. Morrison's gaze swept the room. 1 week, make it count. The gym cleared slowly. Marines joking and laughing, planning their victory. SEALs quieter, worried, supportive but uncertain. Alexis stayed on the mat, alone, processing. 7 men, 70 to 100 pounds heavier each. All trained fighters, all combat veterans, all convinced they couldn't lose to a woman. Master Chief Sullivan approached, waited until everyone else had left. Walk with me, Alexis. They walked in silence. Out of the gym, across the base. The afternoon sun painted everything golden. Toward the memorial wall where the names of fallen SEALs were engraved in bronze. Hundreds of names. Brothers who'd paid the ultimate price. Sullivan stopped in front of one name, ran his fingers across the letters. Master Chief Thomas Reeves, SEAL Team 3, killed in action, Helmand Province, Afghanistan, March 15, 2011. Alexis's father, he knew this day would come, Sullivan said quietly. That's why he created Phantom Protocol. Alexis stared at her father's name. The letters she traced 1,000 times. Master Chief, 7 fights. Your dad did 4. Alexis looked up. What Mogadishu? 1993, Sullivan's voice was quiet. 4 hostiles came through a door. Your dad's weapon jammed, mine was drawing. He fought all 4 hand-to-hand 11 minutes. Saved 4 lives that day, including mine. Sullivan gripped her shoulder. He fought 4 men for 11 minutes with 3 broken ribs by the end. You can fight 7 for 20. I know you can. Alexis felt tears threatening. Push them back. I'm not him. No, you're better. Sullivan turned to face her. Your dad was a great operator, strong, fast, trained in the basics. But he designed an entire system specifically for you, based on your size, your speed, your flexibility, everything you could become. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a worn notebook, brown leather, water-stained, pages yellowed with age. He started writing this when you were born, kept adding to it as you grew. Every technique, every principle, every lesson he wanted to teach you. Sullivan pressed the notebook into her hands. He called it Phantom Protocol, said you'd be like a ghost. There 1 second, gone the next. Impossible to pin down, impossible to predict. Alexis opened the notebook with trembling fingers. Her father's handwriting, neat, precise, the script of an engineer and warrior. Page 1, for Alexis, my ghost, my warrior. When you're big enough to read this, I'll be teaching you in person. If you're reading this without me, it means Sullivan kept his promise. He'll train you. Trust him, but remember, size is never a disadvantage. It's only a disadvantage if you let them think it is. The words blurred. Alexis blinked hard. 1 week, Sullivan said, we train 18 hours a day. I teach you everything your father wanted you to know. Everything I learned in 31 years. Everything that'll help you survive Saturday night. Alexis closed the notebook, clutched it to her chest. What if it's not enough? Sullivan smiled, sad, proud. Then you go out like a Reeves, fighting until the end. But Alexis, he gripped her shoulder. It'll be enough. Your father made sure of that. The week that followed redefined Alexis's understanding of exhaustion. 04:30 every morning. Sullivan waiting outside her barracks room with coffee and a grim expression that said today will be worse than yesterday. He was right. Day 1 was conditioning. Not normal conditioning. Not SEAL conditioning. Something beyond that. 5-minute grappling rounds against rotating opponents. Fresh SEALs cycling in every round. Alexis had 30 seconds between rounds to catch her breath. Drink water. Reset. 10 rounds. 50 minutes of continuous combat. Alexis's lungs burned. Her muscles screamed. Her brain fogged from oxygen debt. Again, Sullivan barked. You're fighting 7 men back-to-back. 2-minute rest between each. You need to learn to fight exhausted. 10 more rounds. Alexis made it through 7 before she vomited. Sullivan handed her water. Waited exactly 60 seconds, again. Day 2 was technical work. Sullivan opened her father's notebook to page 15. Small joints break before large muscles tear. Target fingers, wrists, elbows, knees. Quick, devastating, move on. No wasted motion. No showing off. They drilled it for 14 hours, just joint manipulation. Sullivan's hands became targets. Alexis learned to see every finger, every wrist, every elbow as a lever. A fulcrum. A mechanical system designed to fail under the right pressure, applied at the right angle. Your dad was an engineer before he was a SEAL, Sullivan explained. He understood that bodies are just machines. Machines break when you exceed their tolerances. Day 3 brought reconnaissance. Sullivan made Alexis observe Brennan's Marines during normal training. Your father's second rule, Sullivan said, pointing to the notebook. Every warrior has a tell. Find it in 10 seconds. Exploit it in one move. Alexis watched, really watched, not just looking, studying. The way a sniper studies terrain, the way an engineer studies stress points. Sergeant Van Horn, the big one, 6'4", 240, massive but slow. And when he got tired, he dropped his left hand consistently, a habit carved into muscle memory from years of heavy weapons training where the support hand did most of the work. Corporal Langford, the sniper, lean, flexible, cocky, used his reach advantage but exposed his neck when transitioning between strikes. Poor defensive habit, probably looking cool in the dojo, would be fatal against someone who noticed. Corporal Sutherland, the corpsman, wrestler, college level by the look of his stance. Strong, good pressure, but predictable. Every takedown came from the same setup, the same level change, the same penetration step. Calloway. She'd already fought him. He'd be angry, reckless, want revenge. That made him predictable too. Wyatt Donovan. They called him Hound. Pure brawler. Street fighter. No formal training. Big wind-up on every punch. Telegraphed everything 3 moves in advance. And Brennan, the leader, the champion. 12 years of boxing. Golden Gloves winner. Technical. Smart. Disciplined. But there was something else. Alexis watched him throw punches during pad work. His right cross was devastating. His left jab was sharp and fast. But watch long enough and you saw it. The right shoulder. When he fully extended his right hand just for a split second, his face tightened. Pain, old injury, probably a rotator cuff tear that never healed properly. He favored that shoulder, subtly, but it was there. Then she noticed the 7th man. Gunnery Sergeant Wade Garrett, 58 years old. He moved differently than the younger Marines, slower, more deliberate. But there was something in that deliberation. Experience, economy of motion. The kind that came from 10,000 repetitions, from fighting when these kids' fathers were still in elementary school. Garrett trained apart from the others, old school calisthenics, perfect form push-ups, pull-ups that looked effortless despite his age. And when he hit the heavy bag, there was nothing wasted, just efficient violence. The kind that ended fights fast because you didn't have the energy to waste on looking good. Alexis recorded everything in a small notebook. Her father's on one side, her observations on the other. Day 4 brought speed work. Sullivan brought in a timer. Your dad used to say fast beats strong, smart beats fast, but fast and smart, that's unstoppable. They drilled transitions, guard passes, sweeps, submissions. But everything had to flow. No pause, no reset. One technique into the next, into the next. Alexis's body learned to move without thinking. Muscle memory carved into place through repetition. Thousands of repetitions. When your opponent moves left, you've already moved right. When they push, you've already pulled. When they think they have you, you're already gone. Phantom, Day 5 was mental game. Sullivan sat Alexis down in the empty gym, made her close her eyes, visualize each fight, beginning to end, see yourself winning, feel yourself winning. Your mind can't tell the difference between vivid visualization and real experience. So we give your mind 7 victories before you step on that mat. Alexis visualized. Calloway's overconfident spinning kick. Langford's exposed neck. Sutherland's predictable shot. Donovan's telegraphed haymaker. Van Horn's dropped left hand. Brennan's weak shoulder, and Garrett, the old warrior. Slower but wiser, she'd have to be perfect against him. She saw herself win 7 times. 7 different ways. Day 6 was recovery. Barely. Sullivan made her swim. Easy distance. 20 laps. Let the cold Pacific water leach the soreness from her muscles. Ice baths for 20 minutes. Massage therapy. Nutrition. Sleep. Tomorrow's the fight, Sullivan said that evening. Your body needs to be fresh, but your mind needs to be sharp. So tonight you read. He handed her the notebook. Page 83, your dad's last entry. He wrote it the week before he deployed, before Afghanistan. Alexis turned to the page, her father's handwriting, slightly shakier than earlier entries. He'd known somehow that this might be his last. Alexis, if you're reading this, I'm probably gone. I'm sorry, I won't be there to see you become what I know you'll be. The strongest, smartest, most capable warrior I could imagine. But here's what I need you to remember. Being strong isn't about never falling. It's about standing back up. Being brave isn't about never being scared. It's about fighting anyway. And being a warrior isn't about never crying. It's about crying, wiping your eyes, and getting back to work. I love you, baby girl. Make them remember your name. Dad. Alexis read the words 3 times, then closed the notebook, hugged it to her chest. Tomorrow. 7 Marines would try to break her. Tomorrow she'd show them what a Reeves really was. Saturday arrived with cruel cheerfulness. Bright sunshine, 72 degrees, light breeze from the ocean, perfect Southern California weather. Alexis's stomach felt like lead. 1,800 hours, 2 hours before the fight. She sat alone in her room, father's notebook open on her lap, trident pin on the desk, the worn black belt her father had earned in Krav Maga hanging on the wall. A knock on her door. Come in. Master Chief Sullivan entered carrying a small bag. His face was serious, professional, but Alexis saw the warmth in his eyes. How you feeling? Terrified? Good. Your dad was terrified before every mission. Said fear kept you sharp, made you careful. Only idiots weren't scared. Alexis managed a small smile. He used to tell me that. Sullivan sat, pulled something from the bag. Black cloth, worn and faded. Your dad wanted you to have this. Made me promise years ago. Said to give it to you when you faced your biggest challenge. He unfolded the cloth. It was a belt. Black belt. Krav Maga. The edges frayed from years of use. The black faded to gray in places. This was his. He earned it in 1990, wore it for 15 years, every training session, every deployment. Said it carried his spirit, his technique, everything he'd learned. Sullivan held it out. Time to pass it on. Alexis took the belt with trembling fingers. The material was soft, worn. She could almost feel her father's hands on it, his sweat, his determination, his love. Thank you, Master Chief. Don't thank me yet. You still have to fight. Sullivan stood. 2,000 hours. Don't be late. And Alexis, your dad, used to say one more thing before missions. What pain is just weakness leaving the body. You're about to lose a lot of weakness tonight. 2,000 hours. The gymnasium was packed. Every SEAL on base, every Marine, support personnel, officers, enlisted. Maybe 400 people jammed into a space meant for 200. In the center, a regulation boxing ring. Ropes, canvas, proper lighting. The base commander had made this official, sanctioned, legal. Alexis entered through the side door. She wore standard PT gear, black shorts, gray navy t-shirt, no jewelry, no distractions. Her father's black belt tied around her waist. The crowd saw her. Noise dropped by half. Whispers, pointing, speculation. Master Chief Sullivan waited in her corner. He'd assembled a proper team. 2 SEALs to work her corner. Water, towels, medical supplies if needed. Alexis climbed through the ropes. The canvas felt solid under her feet. Real. This was happening. Across the ring, Brennan and his Marines were laughing, loose, confident. Calloway shadowboxing. Langford stretching. Sutherland and Donovan bumping fists. Van Horn cracking his massive knuckles. And Garrett, standing apart, arms folded, watching with those flat, evaluating eyes. Brennan caught Alexis's eye, smiled. Mouth two words. Try crying. Alexis stared back. Stone, water, air. The base commander climbed into the ring. Captain Richard Morrison, former SEAL himself, carried a microphone. Good evening. What we're about to witness is an exhibition match sanctioned under regulations governing hand-to-hand combat training. Medical personnel are standing by. Rules are simple. Standard MMA regulations. No strikes to groin or throat. No eye gouging or fish hooking. Match continues until submission, knockout, or referee stoppage. He paused. Let the gravity settle. Lieutenant Reeves will face 7 opponents consecutively. 2-minute rest between each match. Fight order has been determined by rank, lowest to highest. Morrison looked at Alexis. Lieutenant, do you accept these terms? Yes, sir. Staff Sergeant Brennan, do your Marines accept these terms? Yes, sir. Can't wait, sir. Then let's begin. First match. Lieutenant Alexis Reeves versus Corporal Trent Calloway. The crowd roared. Alexis walked to her corner. Sullivan grabbed her shoulders. Remember everything. Fast beats strong. Technique beats size, and you've already beaten him once. He'll be angry this time. Good. Angry makes mistakes. You stay calm, stay technical, end it quick. 6 more after him. Alexis nodded, breathed, felt her heartbeat slow despite the adrenaline. Calloway entered the ring. He'd removed his shirt, lean muscles, taekwondo tattoo on his ribs. He bounced on his toes, eager. The referee called them to center. I want a clean fight. Protect yourselves at all times. Touch gloves. They touched gloves. Alexis's hands looked tiny. Ready. The referee raised his arm. Fight. Calloway came forward fast. Feint jab, feint low kick, setting up his spinning back kick. Alexis knew it was coming, had visualized this exact sequence 100 times. The spin started. Beautiful technique. Fast, powerful. Alexis stepped inside the arc. Let his momentum carry him past. Calloway completed the spin, slightly off balance. Alexis hooked his lead leg, simple sweep using his forward motion. Calloway crashed hard. Alexis dropped into side control. Calloway bridged immediately, trying to create space. But Alexis had already trapped his near arm. Her legs wrapped around his neck and shoulder. Arm triangle choke, exactly like their first match. But tighter this time. Faster. No hesitation. Calloway's eyes widened. His free hand pushed against her shoulder, trying to create space. Alexis used that push, rolled them, ended up mounted on his chest. The choke locked deeper. Calloway's face turned red, purple. He tapped. 3 quick slaps against the canvas. Alexis released, stood. Calloway gasped and coughed. The crowd erupted. 15 seconds. First fight done. 6 more to go. Calloway left the ring, holding his throat. His teammates helped him to a bench. Alexis watched him go. 1 down. 6 to go. Her breathing was controlled, heart rate already dropping back to normal. Sullivan handed her water. Drink, small sips. 2 minutes goes fast. Alexis drank. The water was cold. Perfect. She glanced at the crowd. 400 faces, some stunned, some excited. The SEALs were cheering, the Marines quieter now, less certain. Brennan stood with his remaining fighters. His expression had shifted. Not quite worried yet, but the easy confidence had cracked. The referee called time. 2 minutes rest complete. Next match. Lieutenant Reeves versus Lance Corporal Wyatt Donovan. Donovan entered the ring. They called him Hound for good reason. 6'1", 200 pounds of muscle and bad intentions. Tattoos covering both arms. Broken nose that had healed crooked. Street fighter written all over him. He didn't bounce or showboat like Calloway. Just walked to center ring with a predator's focus. Ain't nothing personal, ma'am, he said as they touched gloves. Just doing my job. I understand, Corporal. The referee stepped back. Fight. Donovan charged immediately. No technique, no setup, just raw aggression. A wild right hook aimed at Alexis's head. The kind of punch that would end the fight if it landed. Alexis had watched him train all week. Knew this was coming. Every punch Donovan threw started the same way. Big wind-up, telegraphed from 3 moves away. Powerful but predictable. She stepped inside the arc of his swing. Let his fist pass over her shoulder. Close enough to feel the wind. Donovan's momentum carried him forward. Off balance. Committed. Alexis moved with him, used his own force. Classic judo hip throw. Her hip became a fulcrum. His body mass became leverage. Physics and timing instead of strength. Donovan went airborne. His eyes widened in surprise. Then he hit the canvas hard. 200 pounds of marine slamming into mat from 4 feet up. The impact drove the air from his lungs. Alexis heard the wheeze, but Donovan was tough. Started to push up immediately, trying to get back to his feet, back to his comfortable striking range. Alexis didn't let him, dropped onto his back as he rose to hands and knees, wrapped her legs around his waist, arms snaking around his throat before he could defend. Rear naked choke, one arm across the throat, the other hand gripping her own bicep. Donovan's neck trapped in the V, the carotid arteries compressed. Blood flow to brain, cutting off. Donovan's hands came up, grabbed her forearm, tried to pull it away. He was strong, much stronger than Alexis. His grip felt like iron, but strength didn't matter here. The choke was locked. Proper technique, perfect angles. No amount of pulling would break it. Donovan tried to stand. Alexis's legs locked tighter around his waist. He managed to get one foot under him, then the other. Actually stood up with Alexis on his back like a backpack. The crowd gasped. Donovan stumbled forward, trying to ram Alexis into the corner post, trying to crush her, trying anything. Alexis squeezed tighter, felt his pulse hammering against her forearm, fast at first, then slower. His steps became unsteady. "Tap, Corporal," she whispered. "It's over," Donovan shook his head. Stubborn, proud, refusing to submit to a woman. Even as consciousness slipped away, his legs wobbled, buckled. They went down together. Alexis held the choke, held it tight, professional, controlled, knowing exactly how much pressure, how long to maintain it. Donovan's arms went slack. His body went limp. The referee rushed in, checked his eyes, waved frantically. "Stop, stop, he's out." Alexis released immediately, rolled away, knelt while the medical team rushed the ring. Donovan lay unconscious, face purple, breathing but gone. The crowd had gone silent. This wasn't sport anymore. This was something else, something dangerous, something real. Medical personnel worked on Donovan. 30 seconds later, his eyes fluttered open. Confusion, disorientation, then awareness. He looked at Alexis. Something like respect flickered across his face before embarrassment replaced it. They helped him from the ring. Alexis stood. Her legs felt heavy now. 2 fights, 2 submissions. But she'd had to hold that choke longer than expected. Had to work harder than in the first match. Sullivan grabbed her shoulders. "Good, perfect technique, but you're breathing harder. Drink more. Sit down." Alexis sat on the corner stool, drank, her arms tingled. Adrenaline and lactic acid. She had 5 more fights, 5 more men, each one bigger, stronger, more skilled. "Stay focused," Sullivan said. "Don't think about the next 5, just the next one." The referee called time. Next match, Lieutenant Reeves versus Corporal Brian Sutherland. Sutherland entered the ring. The corpsman, 6 feet even, 185, broad shoulders and thick legs. Alexis had watched him wrestle during training. College level, maybe Division I. His takedowns were powerful. His top pressure suffocating. But wrestlers had patterns, predictable sequences carved into muscle memory through thousands of hours on the mat. Sutherland would shoot, would try to take her down, would try to use his weight and strength to pin her, to grind her out. Alexis stood, her legs protested. Tired already, she pushed the thought away. They touched gloves. Sutherland's grip was firm but respectful. "Good fight so far, ma'am. But this one's mine." "We'll see, Corporal." "Fight," Sutherland circled, cautious. He'd watched the first 2 matches. Knew Alexis was dangerous. Knew rushing in was a mistake. He worked angles, probed with his hands, looking for an opening. A moment to shoot. Alexis circled opposite, maintaining distance, watching his level, his hips, the telltale signs of a takedown attempt. 30 seconds passed, neither committed. The crowd grew restless, wanted action. Sutherland faked a jab, then dropped his level, shot in low. A perfect double-leg takedown attempt. Fast, explosive. His shoulder aimed at Alexis's hips, his hands reaching for her legs. Alexis had seen it coming. The slight weight shift, the drop in elevation, half a second of warning. She sprawled, hip pressure driving down on his shoulders, legs shooting back, making herself heavy, dead weight. Sutherland's takedown stalled. His hands grabbed at air. Alexis circled behind him, took his back while he was still on hands and knees, exactly where she'd been with Donovan. But Sutherland was better than Donovan. Technical. He sat to his hip, tried to turn into her, tried to get back to guard position. Standard defensive wrestling. Alexis read the movement, wrapped her legs around his waist, locked a body triangle, her foot hooked behind her opposite knee, creating a figure four that couldn't be broken. No amount of strength could pry it apart once locked. Sutherland tried to hand fight, tried to prevent her from getting to his neck. His defensive wrestling was good, hands protecting his throat, elbows tight. So Alexis didn't go for the choke. She controlled his posture instead, one hand on his forehead, pulling back, exposing his face. Her other hand came over his shoulder. Short punches, controlled but firm, striking from back mount. The punches weren't meant to knock him out, weren't meant to hurt badly, but they were legal and they were effective. 1, 2, 3, 4 accurate strikes to the side of his head, his temple, his jaw. Sutherland tried to defend, tried to cover up, but doing so exposed his neck. Alexis felt the moment, the opening. Her arms snaked in, but Sutherland pulled his chin down. Good defense. More strikes. 5, 6, 7. Sutherland's arms were tiring, defending punches, trying to escape, burning energy at a rate he couldn't sustain. The referee watched closely, looking for signs, for safety, for the moment when defense became just survival. Alexis's strikes kept coming. Rhythm. Pressure. Relentless. Sutherland's guard dropped. Just a fraction. Just enough. The referee stepped in. Stop, TKO. 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Sutherland was conscious, unhurt except for his pride and a ringing in his ears. But he'd been unable to defend, unable to improve position. The referee's job was to protect fighters. He'd done it. Sutherland looked frustrated, angry at himself. He'd known better, should have defended better, should have turned faster. Alexis helped him up. Good match, Corporal. Your wrestling is solid. Not solid enough. Sutherland shook his head. Left the ring, Alexis's corner, Sullivan with the water, with the towel, 3 down, halfway. How you feeling? Tired, no point lying. Good, embrace it. They're tired watching. You're tired doing, but you're winning. Keep winning. Alexis sat, her shoulders burned. Her legs felt like concrete. 3 fights, maybe 8 minutes of actual combat, but 8 minutes of maximum output, of technique, of control, of violence. She'd never done this before. Never fought 3 trained opponents back to back. Her preparation had included the concept, the training. But training wasn't reality. Reality was sitting here breathing hard, knowing 4 more men waited to hurt her. She thought about her father, about Mogadishu. 4 fighters, 11 minutes, 3 broken ribs, dislocated shoulder, concussion. He'd done it for 11 minutes. She could do it for maybe 15 total, maybe 20. She had to. The referee called time. Next match, Lieutenant Reeves versus Corporal Marcus Langford. Langford entered carefully. The sniper, 5'11", 180, lean and flexible, Muay Thai trained. Alexis had watched him the most during Recon Week. He was technical, smart, the best pure striker in Brennan's squad. This would be a real fight, not a mismatch, not an easy submission. Langford was close to her weight. His training was legitimate, and he'd watched 3 teammates lose. He knew what Alexis could do. They met at center ring, touched gloves. Langford's expression was serious. Focused, respect, ma'am, but I'm not going out like they did. I understand. Fight, Langford started orthodox, traditional Muay Thai stance, hands high, elbows tight, weight distributed evenly. He didn't rush, didn't showboat, just moved. Professional. Alexis circled, stayed in her stance, hands protecting her head, watching his eyes, his shoulders, his hips. Langford threw a low kick. Testing, Alexis checked it. Shin to shin. The impact echoed through the gym. Another low kick. Another check. Langford was working, building rhythm, setting patterns, making Alexis react to his strikes so she wouldn't see the real attack. 40 seconds of careful exchange. Low kicks, teep kicks, both fighters technical, both measuring distance. The crowd leaned forward. This looked like an actual fight between trained martial artists. Langford threw a jab. Alexis slipped. He threw a cross. She blocked. They separated, more circling, more measuring. A minute had passed. Both still fresh enough, still dangerous. Langford threw a combination. Cross, low kick, proper mechanics, proper form. Alexis blocked the first two, checked the kick, then Langford threw a knee, aimed at her midsection, fast, committed. Alexis caught it, both hands on his shin, Langford's eyes widened. He'd committed to the technique, was balanced on one leg. Alexis twisted, used his momentum. Off-balanced him. Langford tried to recover, tried to hop back, tried to pull free. Alexis jumped. A flying technique she'd drilled 1,000 times with Sullivan, wrapped her legs around Langford's neck and arm while airborne. Flying triangle choke. They crashed to the canvas together. Alexis's legs locked around Langford's neck, one leg across his throat, the other hooked behind his head, his own arm trapped against his neck by her leg. The classic triangle configuration. Langford was good. Immediately started working defense. Posture, pressure, trying to stand, trying to slam her, trying anything to create space. But Alexis had the angle, had the position. She grabbed her own shin, pulled down, tightened the triangle. The choke compressed Langford's carotid from multiple directions. Langford fought for 30 seconds, 40, 50. His face turned red, sweat dripping, breathing labored. Finally, he tapped. 1 minute and 44 seconds. Alexis released. Langford rolled away, gasping. He stayed on the canvas for a moment, hands on his throat. Then he stood, walked to Alexis, extended his fist. That was textbook, ma'am. Respect. Alexis bumped his fist. You're a good fighter, Corporal. Best I've faced tonight. Not good enough. But he smiled, slight, genuine. Left the ring with his dignity intact. The crowd was roaring now, SEALs on their feet, even some Marines applauding. Alexis had beaten 4 men, 4 trained combat Marines back to back, and made it look inevitable. But Alexis knew the truth. She was exhausted. Her arms shook. Her legs felt distant, disconnected. 4 fights in maybe 14 minutes. Her body was approaching its limit. Sullivan knew it too. 3 left. The biggest and the best and the oldest. This is where champions are made, Alexis. This is where Reeves don't quit. Alexis nodded, couldn't speak. Just drank water, breathed, tried to recover in 2 minutes what her body needed 2 hours to restore. Across the ring, the 3 remaining Marines were talking. Sergeant Van Horn, the giant, Staff Sergeant Brennan, the champion, and Gunnery Sergeant Garrett, the old warrior, 58 years old but still formidable, still dangerous. Van Horn looked nervous. He'd just watched 4 teammates lose, all bigger than Alexis, all trained fighters, all confident, all beaten. Brennan's expression was unreadable. Stone. He was measuring, calculating, adjusting his assessment. Garrett stood apart, arms folded, face showing nothing. But those eyes, always evaluating, always learning. The referee called time, 2 minutes rest complete. Next match, Lieutenant Reeves versus Sergeant Tyler Van Horn. Van Horn stood 6'4", 240, the biggest man Alexis would face tonight, the biggest she'd ever fought. Period. 115 pounds heavier than her, 13 inches taller. Reached like a gorilla. He climbed through the ropes, the ring shook slightly under his weight. Alexis stood, her legs barely cooperated. She locked her knees, willed herself upright. They met at center. Van Horn looked down at her, looked apologetic. Ma'am, I don't want to hurt you. Then don't, Sergeant. Just fight. They touched gloves. Van Horn's hands were enormous, made Alexis's look like a child's. Fight. Van Horn stalked forward, slowly, careful. He'd learned from watching. Knew rushing was death. His reach advantage was massive. He could control the center, Control the distance. Make Alexis come to him. Alexis circled. Her footwork felt sluggish. 4 fights of lactic acid accumulation, of micro-trauma, of exhaustion eating at her speed. Van Horn threw a jab, long, snapping. Alexis pulled back. The fist passed an inch from her face. Another jab. She slipped. Van Horn was testing range, establishing control. 30 seconds. Van Horn had barely moved. Just worked his jab. Patient. Smart. Using his size exactly right. Alexis needed to get inside. Needed to close distance. But she was tired. Van Horn was fresh. He could keep her at range forever. Pick her apart from distance. Wait for her to make a mistake. 45 seconds. Van Horn threw another jab. Alexis slipped outside. Tried to close. Van Horn circled away. Maintained distance. 1 minute. The crowd was getting restless. This was slower, more technical, less exciting than the previous fights. But Alexis was thinking, watching. Van Horn was big, was strong, but he was slow. And when he got tired, when his arms got heavy from holding them up, he dropped his left hand. She'd seen it during training. The habit was there. She just had to make him tired. Alexis pressed forward, more aggressive. Forced Van Horn to work, to jab more, to move more, to keep his hands up. Van Horn obliged, threw combinations. Nothing fancy, just basic boxing, but effective when you had an 80-inch reach. 1 minute 30. Van Horn was breathing harder. His arms had been up for 90 seconds. Holding up 240 pounds of muscle required energy, required oxygen. Alexis watched his left hand. Still up, still protecting his jaw, still disciplined. 1 minute 45. Van Horn threw a right cross. Big, powerful. Alexis ducked under, felt it pass over her head. And there it was, just for a second. Van Horn's left hand dropped 6 inches, maybe 8, recovering from the big right hand. The habit asserting itself through fatigue. Alexis moved, didn't think, just reacted. Years of training by Shepard taking over. She stepped inside Van Horn's guard, got past his reach, jumped. A flying armbar. One of the most spectacular techniques in submission grappling. One of the most difficult to execute. Alexis's body horizontal in midair, her legs wrapping around Van Horn's extended right arm, and all her weight falling backward. Van Horn's eyes went wide. He tried to pull back, but his arm was trapped. Alexis's legs locked around it, her hips pressed against his elbow joint. They crashed to the canvas. Alexis's momentum and body weight pulled Van Horn forward. He fell to his knees, his arm hyperextended. The elbow joint bent the wrong way. The pop was audible, like a branch breaking, like something fundamental giving way. Van Horn screamed, tapped frantically with his free hand, slapping the canvas over and over, the universal signal of submission, of surrender, of pain too great to endure. Alexis released instantly, rolled away. Van Horn clutched his elbow, his face twisted in pain. Medical team rushing the ring, 2 minutes 17 seconds. David beats Goliath. Physics beats its strength. The crowd had erupted, the noise was deafening. Alexis couldn't hear herself think, couldn't hear anything except the ringing in her ears and her own heartbeat. Sullivan pulled her to the corner, sat her down, shoved water in her hands. Drink. Breathe. You've got 2 minutes and 2 more fights. Alexis drank, her hands were shaking, adrenaline, exhaustion, emotion. 5 men, 5 victories, 15 minutes of combat, every technique her father had taught her, every principle he'd written, every drill she'd run with Sullivan. It had worked, all of it. But she had 2 fights left, the hardest fights, against the best fighter and against experience itself. Medical team helped Van Horn from the ring. His elbow would need x-rays, maybe surgery, but he'd recover. Alexis had controlled the submission, had released the moment he tapped. Professional. Precise. Van Horn looked at her as they passed, nodded, respect from one warrior to another. The referee checked with Alexis. Lieutenant, you able to continue? Yes, sir. Next match. Standard rules apply. 3-minute rounds if needed. You understand? Alexis nodded. 3-minute rounds with 1 minute rest. If neither fighter finished, judges would score. But Alexis knew Brennan wouldn't let it go to judges. Neither would she. The referee waved Brennan forward. Sixth match, Lieutenant Alexis Reeves versus Staff Sergeant Cole Brennan. Touch gloves. Clean it. Brennan met Alexis at center ring. Up close, he looked bigger. His reach advantage was significant. His shoulders were thick. His stance perfect. They touched gloves. Brennan's expression was neutral. Professional. You've earned my respect tonight, Lieutenant. But this ends now. We'll see Staff Sergeant. The referee stepped back, raised his hand. Fight. Brennan didn't rush, didn't charge, didn't make the mistakes his Marines had made. He started in a textbook boxing stance. Orthodox, left foot forward, hands protecting his head, weight balanced. He threw a jab, fast, snapping. Alexis slipped it. Brennan threw another. She slipped that too. He was working, establishing rhythm, testing range, building combinations. This was technical boxing, not brawling, not wild swinging. This was skill versus skill. Alexis circled, tried to stay outside, tried to conserve energy. Her body was screaming. 5 fights, 17 minutes, maybe 30 seconds of actual rest. Brennan pressed forward, threw a 1-2 combination. Jab, cross. Alexis blocked the jab. The cross glanced off her shoulder. Stung. Real power behind it. He threw a hook. Alexis ducked, came up inside his guard, tried to clinch, tried to take him down. Brennan sprawled, good wrestling defense for a boxer. He pushed her away, reset to striking range. 30 seconds. Brennan was controlling the pace, controlling the distance, making Alexis react to him. Another combination. Jab, jab, cross, hook. The last hook caught Alexis on the ear. Her head snapped sideways. Stars burst across her vision. The crowd gasped. Brennan pressed, smelled blood. Another combination. Alexis covered up, blocked most of it. But a jab got through, split her lip. She tasted copper, blood in her mouth. 1 minute. Brennan was winning, landing the cleaner shots. Alexis was tired, slow. Her reactions a half step behind. Brennan threw a straight right. Alexis slipped outside, countered with a low kick, caught his lead leg. Brennan absorbed it, didn't check, just ate the kick and threw a cross that snapped Alexis's head back. The round felt endless. Alexis backpedaled, circled, tried to survive, tried to find an opening. But Brennan was technical, disciplined, not giving her anything. 2 minutes. Another combination caught Alexis clean. Right eye swelling, lip bleeding. Her vision was blurring. Sullivan's voice in her head. When you're hurt, when you're tired, when you can't go on, that's when Reeves show what they're made of. 2 minutes 30. Brennan threw a long jab. Alexis slipped it, saw an opening, Brennan's right shoulder. For just a split second, his guard dropped as he extended. The old injury, the weakness she'd identified. But she was too tired, too slow. The moment passed before she could capitalize. The bell rang. 3 minutes. Round 1 complete. Alexis stumbled to her corner, collapsed onto the stool. Sullivan was there. Water, towel, ice for her eye. He's winning. Alexis gasped. I can't touch him. Yes, you can. He's favoring that right shoulder. I saw it twice. He winced. You saw it too. Oh, stop trying to outbox him. You can't. You're a grappler. Get inside. Take him down. Make it your fight. I'm too tired. Then be tired on top of him. Be tired while you're choking him. But don't be tired while he's punching you in the face. Sullivan grabbed her chin, made her look at him. Your father fought for 11 minutes. You fought for 20. But this is the fight that matters. This is the one people will remember. Give them something to remember. The referee called time. 1 minute. Rest complete. Alexis stood. Her legs barely held her. She walked to center ring. Brennan looked fresh, confident, not even breathing hard. He'd controlled the first round completely. Round 2. Fight. Brennan came forward immediately. Same technical bond, same discipline. He threw a jab. Alexis slipped. He threw another. She slipped again. But this time, instead of circling away, Alexis pressed forward, got inside his reach. Brennan tried to tie her up, push her away like before. Alexis grabbed his right arm, pulled, used his own push against him. Simple judo principle. When they push, you pull. Brennan's balance shifted. Just slightly. Just enough. Alexis hooked his leg, dropped her weight. Basic trip, nothing fancy. They went down together. Brennan tried to land and guard, tried to control her from bottom. But Alexis passed immediately. Years of grappling experience taking over. She got to side control. Brennan bucked, tried to create space, tried to stand. Alexis moved with him, flowed like water, got to his back as he turned. Now she had the position she wanted. Brennan face down, Alexis on his back, her legs wrapped around his waist, her hooks in. Brennan was a good boxer, but he was not a good grappler. He tried to stand, pushed up with his hands. Alexis went with him, stayed glued to his back. They got to their knees. Brennan still trying to shake her. But Alexis's legs were locked. Body triangle. Unbreakable. Her arms worked for his neck. Brennan defended well. Chin down, hands protecting his throat. Boxing fundamentals saved him for now. But Alexis was patient. She could feel his heart hammering, could feel his breathing getting labored. He was working hard to defend, to escape, burning energy he didn't have. She threw short punches to his ribs. Legal strikes from back mount. Not hard enough to hurt badly, just annoying, just making him uncomfortable, making him react. Brennan tried to hand a fight, tried to grab her wrists. That opened his neck slightly. Alexis's arms snaked in, got under his chin. Her other hand grabbed her own bicep. Rear naked choke. The same submission that had finished Donovan. But Brennan's chin was down. Good defense. The choke wasn't fully locked. Alexis squeezed anyway, compressed his jaw, made it hurt, made him miserable. 30 seconds of battle. Brennan defending, Alexis attacking, neither willing to give. Then Brennan made a mistake. Tired, frustrated, hurt. He tried to pull Alexis's arm away from his throat, used both hands, committed fully to breaking the choke. That removed his hands from his neck defense. Alexis adjusted immediately. Got her forearm deeper, across his throat now, not his jaw. The choke locked properly. Brennan felt it, knew it. His eyes went wide. He tried to tuck his chin again. Too late. The choke was in. He had maybe 10 seconds before he went unconscious. Maybe less. Alexis could feel his pulse against her forearm. Fast, desperate. Brennan didn't tap. Stubborn, proud. The same pride that had started this entire confrontation. The same arrogance that had made him say, "Try not to cry, princess." 5 seconds. Brennan's movements got sluggish, uncoordinated. 3 seconds. His arms went slack. The referee rushed in, checked Brennan's eyes, waved frantically. "Stop! Stop! He's out." Alexis released, rolled away. Brennan collapsed face first onto the canvas. Unconscious. Beaten. The gymnasium exploded. 400 people on their feet. Screaming, cheering. The noise was physical. A wave of sound that washed over everything. Alexis knelt on the canvas. Couldn't stand yet. Her body had nothing left. She'd given everything. Every technique. Every principle. Every ounce of strength and will. 6 men. 6 victories. 22 minutes of combat against bigger, stronger, experienced fighters. And she'd won all of them. Medical team revived Brennan. It took longer this time. 30 seconds of unconsciousness. His eyes fluttered open. Confusion. Disorientation. Then awareness. Then shame. He looked at Alexis, still kneeling 10 feet away. Their eyes met, and in that moment something passed between them. Understanding, recognition, respect. Alexis stood, legs shaking, walked over, extended her hand. Brennan stared at it, pride warring with honor. Finally he took it, let her help him up. The crowd's roar intensified, seals chanting, "Phantom, phantom, phantom." Alexis raised Brennan's hand alongside her own. Warriors recognizing warriors. The gesture quieted the crowd slightly. Brennan leaned close, spoke so only Alexis could hear. "I was wrong about everything. Alexis nodded. I know. How? Because you're still here, still standing. Most men would have tapped. You fought until you went unconscious. That's a warrior staff sergeant. Gender doesn't change that. Brennan's eyes were wet, not quite crying, not quite able to hold it back. Try not to cry, princess. That's what I said. Alexis smiled, blood on her teeth from her split lip, swelling, closing her right eye. And here I am, not crying, just winning. Then the silence fell. That particular silence when something unexpected happens, when the script changes, when the story takes a turn no one saw coming. Gunnery Sergeant Wade Garrett climbed into the ring. The crowd gasped. 58 years old, 6'1", 210, still formidable despite his age, still dangerous. He walked to center ring with that deliberate economy of motion, the kind that came from 5 decades of violence. Garrett's voice carried across the gymnasium. 6 fights, but the bet said 6 Marines. Van Horn's out. Medical, I'm in. Captain Morrison pushed through the crowd. Gunny, you're not on the roster. I'm a Marine. She disrespected the Corps. I'm invoking Article 5. Challenged by senior rank. Morrison looked at Brennan, still groggy from being choked unconscious. Staff Sergeant Brennan found his voice. Gunny, don't. Garrett turned, looked at Brennan with those flat eyes. Shut up, Cole. Watch how it's done. Morrison turned to Alexis. Lieutenant, technically this is legal, but you've already won the bet. You can refuse. Every eye in that gymnasium turned to Alexis. She'd fought 6 men, won 6 times, proven everything she needed to prove. She could walk away right now, with her career intact, with her dignity, with her victory. But Garrett represented something more than just another opponent. He represented the old guard, the generation that had spent 50 years believing women didn't belong in combat, that had formed their opinions before Alexis was born and never bothered updating them. Refusing him would prove him right. That she needed special treatment, that she couldn't handle the unexpected, that women were fine as long as conditions were controlled, as long as nothing went wrong. Alexis looked at Sullivan. The Master Chief's face showed concern. Worry, but also something else. Pride. Trust. The same look he'd given her 1,000 times before. Your call. I'll support whatever you choose. Alexis turned back to Morrison. I accept. The crowd divided, SEALs horrified, older Marines cheering, younger Marines uncertain. This wasn't part of the plan. This was something else entirely. Morrison nodded slowly. Very well. Standard rules apply. Lieutenant Reeves, you'll have 2 minutes to recover. Then we proceed. Alexis walked to her corner. Sullivan was already working. Fresh water, ice pack for her eye, towel for the blood. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, but his voice was tight. Alexis, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do. He's 58, but he's mean. Old school mean. He won't fight fair. Sullivan's eyes were serious. And you're exhausted. 6 fights, 25 minutes. Your body is done. Then it has to find one more round. Sullivan gripped her shoulders. Your father would be proud of you either way. Win or lose, you've already proven everything. Not to him, Alexis nodded toward Garrett. He's watched 6 Marines lose. He still doesn't believe. Still thinks I got lucky. Still thinks the standards were lowered. I have to show him. Not for me. For every woman who comes after. For Claire. For Brennan's sister. For all of them. Sullivan held her gaze. Then nodded. 1 round. Make it count. The referee called time. 2 minutes rest complete. Final match. Lieutenant Alexis Reeves versus Gunnery Sergeant Wade Garrett. Garrett walked to center ring. No emotion on his face, just professional focus. They touched gloves. His hands were scarred. Knuckles that had been broken and healed wrong. The hands of a man who'd been fighting since before Alexis was born. The referee stepped back. This is 3-minute rounds. Standard rules. Fight. Garrett didn't rush, didn't charge, just moved forward with that deliberate patience. The kind that came from knowing you didn't need to hurry. That time and experience were on your side. He threw a jab. Not fast, not flashy, just efficient. Alexis slipped it. Garrett threw another. She slipped that too. But something was different. His strikes came from angles she didn't expect. Set up combinations that felt wrong, off rhythm. 40 years of bar fights and combat tours had taught Garrett things that weren't in any manual. Dirty tactics, thumb strikes that looked like jabs, Elbow checks that felt like accidents. The kind of fighting that skirted the edge of legal, that used the rules without breaking them. 30 seconds in, Garrett landed a body shot. Solar plexus. Alexis's breath left her. Not from power, from precision. He'd hit exactly the right spot. The kind of shot that made you want to quit. That made your body question why it was still fighting. Alexis tried to clinch, to take him down. Garrett sprawled. Old school wrestling defense. Basic but effective. He pushed her away, reset to striking range. Landed another body shot. Ribs this time. Alexis felt something give. Not break, but flex. Bend. Worn 1 minute. Garrett was working methodically, breaking her down, not trying for the knockout, just accumulating damage, making every second hurt, making her body beg to stop. Alexis changed tactics, stopped trying to outbox him, pressed forward instead, into his power, accepting hits to close distance, took a straight right to get inside. The punch rocked her, but she got her arms around him, dragged him down. They hit the mat. Garrett immediately started working to stand. No wasted motion, no panic, just technical grappling from a man who'd learned it before Alexis's father was born. He posted on his hands, started to rise. Alexis jumped on his back, wrapped her legs around his waist. But Garrett kept standing, actually stood up with her on his back, just like Donovan had. But Garrett was smarter. He walked backward, fast, slammed Alexis into the corner post. The impact drove air from her lungs. Her grip loosened. Garrett did it again, slammed her into the post, again. The referee watching closely. Legal but brutal. Alexis's legs unlocked. She fell to the canvas. Garrett turned, looked down at her. No mercy in those eyes. Just the cold assessment of a man who'd seen it all, done it all, survived it all. The referee checked Alexis. "Can you continue?" She nodded. Couldn't speak. Just nodded. Garrett waited. Patient, professional. When Alexis stood, he moved in again. Not rushing, just inevitable. Like a glacier. Like something that couldn't be stopped. Only endured. 2 minutes. Garrett landed a combination. 1-2. Simple, basic, but perfect technique, perfect timing. Alexis's head snapped back. Blood from her lip. Swelling under both eyes now. Her vision was narrowing. She tried a takedown. Desperation. Garrett sprawled, posted on her head, his weight pressing down, crushing. Alexis couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Her arms gave out, face down on the canvas. Garrett's weight on her back. She'd never been here before. Never been this dominated, this outmatched. The round was almost over. If she could just survive, just make it to the bell. But Garrett wasn't trying to finish. He was teaching, showing her what 5 decades of experience meant, showing her that technique was fine, youth was fine, but wisdom, that was something else entirely. The bell rang. 3 minutes. Round 1 complete. Alexis crawled to her corner, literally crawled. Sullivan helped her onto the stool. His face was grim. "She's done," he said to the referee. "We're stopping this." "No," Alexis's voice was hoarse. "No stopping. Alexis, you can't win this. You're too tired. He's too experienced. There's no shame in this." "Not about shame." Alexis looked at Sullivan. "About showing him I won't quit. That I'll fight until I can't fight anymore. That's what warriors do." Sullivan held her gaze. Saw something there, Mabainayum. The same thing he'd seen in her father's eyes in Mogadishu. The refusal to yield. The absolute commitment. He nodded. "1 more round. But I'm stopping it if he hurts you bad." The referee called time. Round 2. Fight. Alexis stood. Her legs barely responded. Everything hurt. Her ribs, her face, her arms. But she'd remembered something. Something from her father's notebook. Something Sullivan had shown her on day 3. Page 47. When facing a superior opponent target, what time is taken from them? Veterans always have old injuries. Always have weak points. The body remembers every fight it's been in. Garrett moved forward. Same patience. Same inevitable pressure. But Alexis was watching differently now. Not looking at what he did. Looking at what he avoided doing. How he moved. What he protected. His left knee. She'd seen it all week. A slight limp, so subtle most people wouldn't notice. But it was there. 5 decades of jumping out of aircraft and running with heavy packs and kneeling on concrete. The knee had taken it all, had survived. But not without calm. Garrett threw a jab. Alexis slipped, circled left, toward his weak side. Garrett adjusted, tried to keep his strong leg forward, but Alexis kept circling. Patient now, not rushing, learning from him even as she fought him. 30 seconds. Garrett threw a combination. Alexis ducked under. Shot for his legs. Not a perfect shot, not even a good shot, but aimed specifically at his left knee. Garrett tried to sprawl. His left leg buckled slightly, just for a fraction of a second, but a fraction was enough. Alexis adjusted, wrapped both arms around his left leg, secured it, sat back. All her weight, all her leverage, all her remaining strength, pulling his knee into hyperextension, the knee bar. One of the most painful submissions in martial arts, one of the most dangerous, the kind that could end careers if held too long. Garrett's face contorted. 58 years old. That knee had survived training. Desert Storm, Bosnia, Iraq, thousands of jumps and runs and fights. But it couldn't survive this. Not at this angle. Not with this pressure. For 5 seconds, Garrett fought it. Tried to kick free with his right leg. Tried to turn. Tried to power out through sheer will. But the leverage was absolute. The technique perfect. His knee was hyperextending. Ligaments stretching past their limit. Garrett looked at Alexis. Their eyes met. And in that moment, something passed between them. The old warrior seeing himself in the young one. Seeing the same refusal to quit. The same commitment. The same willingness to break rather than bend. He tapped. Once. Twice. 3 times. Clear. Unmistakable. Alexis released immediately, rolled away. Garrett lay on the canvas, staring at the ceiling, his left knee already swelling. The medical team rushed in. The gymnasium had gone completely silent. 3 seconds of absolute quiet. Then the explosion. 400 people on their feet, screaming, cheering, the noise beyond description. Alexis crawled to the ropes, used them to pull herself up. Sullivan was there, helping her, supporting her. "Your father would be so proud," he said, voice breaking. So damn proud. Garrett was sitting up now, medical working on his knee, wrapping it, ice pack applied. His face showed pain, but also something else, something that looked almost like peace. Alexis walked over, limped over, every step agony. She extended her hand. Garrett looked at her, then took it. Let her help him up. He had to lean on her. The injured warrior supporting the wounded veteran. Garrett's voice was quiet, meant only for her. 54 years, 3 wars, never tapped. "You broke me. I'm sorry, Gunny. I didn't mean to hurt you. Don't apologize." Garrett's eyes were serious. "I came here to ask something. What teach me?" His voice cracked slightly. "Teach me your father's system. I was wrong about all of it, about you, about Claire, about everything I believed for 50 years. Old man needs to learn from the young wolf." Alexis felt tears threatening. "Tuesday morning. Oh, 600. Bring Brennan." Garrett nodded. "Semper Fi, Lieutenant. Always faithful, Gunny." The crowd's noise was deafening. Captain Morrison climbed into the ring, raised Alexis's hand. 7 fights, 7 victories, 1 SEAL, 7 Marines, history made tonight. But Alexis barely heard it. Her vision was blurring, not from tears, from exhaustion, from pain, from everything her body had endured. Sullivan caught her as her legs gave out. "Easy. I got you. You're done. You can rest now." The next hours passed in fragments. Medical evaluation, ice packs, x-rays, nothing broken but everything hurt. Mild concussion, bruised ribs, contusions everywhere. The doctor wanted to keep her overnight for observation. Sullivan sat with her in the medical bay, silent, just present, the way he'd been present for 26 years. Finally, Alexis spoke. "Did I make him proud?" "Who, Dad?" Sullivan smiled, sad and warm at the same time. "Alexis, your father knew this day would come. He saw it before you were born. That's why he created Phantom Protocol. Not just to make you a good fighter, to make you someone who could change minds, who could prove that capability has nothing to do with gender, everything to do with heart. He leaned forward. Tonight you didn't just win 7 fights, you changed 7 men. Brennan, Garrett, all of them. They'll never doubt another female operator, never question another woman's place in the teams. You did that. Your father would be beyond proud. Alexis closed her eyes. Let the exhaustion take her. She woke to voices, opened her eyes. Brennan and Garrett were standing at the door of the medical bay, both looking uncertain. Sullivan saw them, nodded, let them in. They approached slowly. Brennan's face was marked with shame. Garrett limped heavily, his knee wrapped in a brace. They stood at the foot of her bed, neither speaking. Finally, Brennan found his voice. Lieutenant, I came to say something. Something I should have said 8 years ago to my sister. Alexis waited. I was wrong. Brennan's voice was thick. Claire wanted to be a Marine. I told her she was too weak, too small, that she'd get people killed. She died before I could take it back. I've spent 8 years proving she was right to give up her dream, making sure no other woman made me admit I destroyed her for nothing. He paused. But you proved everything. Not just that you're strong, that I was wrong about all of it. About her, about you, about what makes someone a warrior. Garrett spoke, his voice gravel. 54 years I've been in this Corps. Saw women integrate, saw the standards change, told myself it was politics, that we were lowering the bar, making everyone less safe. He shifted weight off his injured knee. Tonight you beat 7 men, including me, and you did it fair, did it right. Using technique I didn't know existed, teaching me things I should have learned decades ago. I was wrong, ma'am, about everything. Alexis looked at them. These 2 men who'd spent days trying to break her, who'd questioned everything she'd achieved, who'd made her prove herself in ways male operators never had to. And she felt something unexpected. Not anger, not triumph, just sadness. For all the Claires who'd never gotten the chance. For all the women who'd been told no by men like this. Claire deserved better, she said to Brennan. You owe her an apology, not me. I know. Brennan's eyes were wet. I'm going to her grave tomorrow, going to tell her everything. Tell her she was right, that she could have been a Marine. Could have been great. Garrett cleared his throat. Ma'am, I'm retiring. 54 years is enough, but before I go, I want to learn your system. Want to teach it to young Marines. Want to make sure the next generation doesn't make my mistakes. Alexis looked at Sullivan. The Master Chief nodded. Tuesday morning, she said. Both of you. 0600. We'll start with the basics. They left. Alexis closed her eyes again. But before sleep came, Sullivan spoke. There's one more thing. Captain Morrison wants to see you. Monday morning, 800. He has something to tell you. Monday morning arrived with California sun and a body that felt like it had been hit by a truck. Every muscle ached. Every joint protested. But Alexis stood in Captain Morrison's office at 0800 sharp. Dress blues, proper military bearing despite the bruises. Morrison looked up from his desk. Lieutenant Reeves. Sit. Alexis sat. Carefully. Morrison studied her. Saturday night was remarkable. 7 trained fighters. 7 victories. In 31 years, I've never seen anything like it. He paused. Which is why I'm pleased to inform you that your application to DevGru has been approved. You'll report to Dam Neck, Virginia in 6 months. Begin the selection process for SEAL Team 6. Alexis's breath caught. DevGru, Naval Special Warfare Development Group, the most elite unit in the SEAL teams. The tip of the spear. Most operators waited 5 years before being considered. She'd been in the teams for 2. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep proving them wrong. Morrison smiled slightly, every step of the way. That afternoon, Alexis found herself at the memorial wall again, staring at her father's name, running her fingers across the letters. Master Chief Thomas Reeves, killed in action. March 15, 2011. Did I make you proud, Dad? She whispered. Did I do it right? The wind off the Pacific was her only answer. But somehow it felt like enough. The next 8 weeks transformed everything. Every morning at 0600, Alexis taught Phantom Protocol. Brennan and Garrett were her best students, obsessive, dedicated, learning not just the techniques but the principles. the why behind the how. Brennan opened up about Claire, how she'd been small but fierce, how she'd wanted to serve, how he'd crushed that dream out of fear, out of his own insecurity, how he'd spent 8 years making sure no woman proved him wrong about her. Now he spent every morning learning how to make sure the next Claire got her chance. Garrett was slower. Old habits died hard, but he kept showing up, kept trying, kept learning, showing a humility that 54 years in the Corps hadn't beaten into him. It took a 26-year-old SEAL to teach him that strength came in forms he'd never considered. Week 4 brought a visitor. Sullivan found Alexis after training. "Someone wants to see you." In Captain Morrison's office sat a woman in a suit. CIA credentials. She introduced herself as Director Sarah Hendricks, Lieutenant Reeves. "I have a proposition." She laid out a folder. 8 American contractors held hostage in Kurdistan, northern Iraq. 3 days in captivity. Intelligence suggested a terrorist cell 15 kilometers outside Erbil. Time-sensitive intel at risk. "We're putting together a rescue force. SEAL Team 5 leads. Marine Force Recon supports. You'll command the CQB element. 12 operators. Mixed service. Your mission is to bring them home." Alexis looked at Sullivan. The Master Chief's face was carefully neutral. "Your call. When do we launch? 72 hours. Time to plan is now." Alexis stood. "I accept." The planning consumed 3 days. Satellite imagery, intelligence updates, equipment checks, rehearsals. Alexis designed the assault using everything she'd learned, everything her father had written, everything Sullivan had taught. Mission night arrived. Alexis stood on the deck of a forward operating base as the sun set over Kurdistan. Master Chief Sullivan found her at the rail. "Your dad stood like this before Mogadishu. Same sunset, same nervous energy." "I'm scared," Alexis admitted. "What if someone dies because of my call? Then you live with it, like every commander in history." Sullivan gripped her shoulder. "But your plan is solid. Your team is ready. Trust yourself." At 2100 hours, 12 operators gathered in the staging area. Full combat gear, weapons, night vision, ready. Alexis stood before them. "Gentlemen, 8 Americans are in enemy hands. 4 days of captivity. Every hour increases execution risk. Our job is simple. Get in, get them out, get everyone home alive." She activated the tactical display. 2 buildings, hostages in the central structure. Second floor, minimum 6 guards. We insert via V-22 5 kilometers out. Overland approach. Hit time 0300 when circadian rhythms are lowest. Brennan asked questions, sharp, professional. The SEALs offered refinements. By the end, everyone knew their role. Rules of engagement. Deadly force authorized. But hostage safety is priority 1. If you must choose between taking a shot and risking a hostage, you hold fire. Any questions? None. Gear up. We launch in 30. The insertion was flawless. V-22 Osprey dropped them 5 kilometers from target. No contact, 2.5 miles through rough terrain and darkness. They reached the compound perimeter at Otomeo 255. Through night vision, Alexis studied the target. 3 sentries. Bored, smoking, unaware. She hand-signaled. 3 SEAL snipers moved into position. Silent countdown. 3, 2, 1. 3 suppressed shots. 3 sentries dropped. The team moved forward, reached the building. Brennan's breaching charge on the door. Silent count. 3, 2, 1. The charge detonated, shaped, precise. The door blew inward. Alexis was first through, HK-416 up. Night vision painting the world green. Hallway clear. She moved. The stack flowed behind her. 12 operators, 1 machine, contact. 3 hostiles, armed, reacting to the breach. Alexis's weapon spoke. Control bursts, 2 rounds center mass. Target down. Brennan engaged the second. A SEAL took the third. 7 seconds. 3 threats neutralized. They kept moving. Stairs. Alexis led the ascent. Slow, careful. The fatal funnel. Top of stairs. Another hallway. Arabic voices, angry, confused. They had maybe 60 seconds. Found the door, locked. Brennan's shotgun breach. 1 shot to the lock. The door crashed open. 8 Americans inside. Bound. Hoods, terrified, alive. Alexis's team flooded in, cutting zip ties, removing hoods, checking injuries. The hostages were mobile, scared, but able to run. Then gunfire from below, compound awake, mission compromised. Move, Alexis commanded. The hostages ran, the team covered, fighting withdrawal. Brennan and 3 Marines held rear guard, buying time with disciplined fire. They reached the exfiltration point, but an ambush hit. Muzzle flashes from a ridgeline. 15 hostiles, heavy weapons, PKM machine gun fire tearing up ground. The team went prone, returned fire, but they were pinned. Brennan saw the flanking route. Mitchell, I'm flanking, suppressed for 60. Alexis went full auto. The SEALs followed. Maximum firepower. Brennan and 4 Marines moved like ghosts, got behind the ambush, engaged from rear. The ambush collapsed. Then Brennan's voice, strained, hurt. I'm hit, right leg, can't walk. Sullivan's voice in Alexis's ear bombed from base. Your commander, send someone else. Not happening, Master Chief. Alexis was already moving. 180 meters under fire, rounds snapping past. She found Brennan. Tourniquet applied, right leg bleeding. He couldn't stand. You shouldn't have come, he gasped. Warriors don't leave warriors. Firemen's carry. 195 pounds of Marine on 125 pounds of SEAL. She ran. Brennan returned fire from her shoulder. 50 meters. 40. 30. Her vision narrowed. 20. Her legs screamed. 10. She collapsed. The team grabbed Brennan, dragged him final 10 meters. F-18 Hornets screamed overhead. 30mm cannons shredded hostile positions. MH-60 helicopters landed. Load hostages, all 8 accounted. Load team, 12 operators, all alive. In the helicopter, Brennan grabbed Alexis's hand. Thank you, you're my Marine now. We don't leave anyone behind. Garrett's voice over radio. Been listening the whole time. Your father would be so goddamn proud. Best mission command I've seen in 54 years. 6 months later, Lieutenant Commander Alexis Reeves stood at Dam Neck, Virginia. DevGru, teaching advanced close quarters battle to 32 students. 2 female. Brennan had recovered, accepted as Marine liaison. Garrett had retired but consulted part-time. A female ranger raised her hand. Ma'am, how do you overcome the mental aspect, everyone doubting you? You make it irrelevant, become so undeniably good that capability speaks louder than doubt. You earn respect through excellence that can't be ignored. Brennan added, I doubted her, got choked unconscious. Then she saved my life in Kurdistan. Best lessons I ever learned, Garrett spoke. 50 years believing women couldn't cut it. Then a 125-pound SEAL beat 7 Marines and carried a 195-pound Marine under fire. I was wrong. That evening, Alexis visited the memorial garden, found her father's name. Master Chief Thomas Reeves. Sullivan was waiting. Got orders? Afghanistan deployment, 6 months, task force command, taking it not to prove anything. Because it's the mission, because someone has to. Your father's last words to me, tell Alexis to cry when she needs to, then wipe her eyes and get back to work. That's what warriors do, Alexis cried. First time in public since she was 13. Sullivan held her shoulder. He knew you'd be stronger than him. He was right. Later that night, Alexis sat at her desk, father's notebook beside her own. She wrote, Dad, 13 years later, Phantom Protocol saved my life, saved Brennan's, changed Garrett's world. You created something bigger than yourself. Warriors do cry, then we fight, then we win. Love, Alexis. She closed both notebooks, side by side. 2 generations of warriors, both teaching the same lesson. True strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking and choosing to heal, choosing to stand, choosing to fight. The C-7 lifted off 3 days later, Alexis and her team heading to Afghanistan. She touched her father's dog tags, looked out at the darkness, thought about the journey. 7 fights, 7 victories, 7 men changed. And somewhere maybe Claire Brennan rested easier, knowing her dream hadn't died. Just waited for the right person to prove it possible. Try not to cry, her father's words echoed. But now Alexis understood. Not don't cry. Choose when. Warriors cry after the mission, after everyone's home, After we've earned the right to feel everything we held back, then we wipe our eyes and we prepare for the next fight, because the fight never ends. Someone always has to stand on the wall, and tonight, tomorrow, and every day after that, someone would be warriors like Alexis Reeves. Proving that strength comes in many forms. That technique beats size. That heart beats everything. The plane climbed into darkness. Afghanistan waited. New missions, new challenges, new opportunities to prove that her father had been right all along, that she was exactly what he'd believed she could be. A warrior, a leader, a ghost who moved through the world changing minds and saving lives, making them remember her name.